We are live.
Yay!
Hi everyone,
Woo!
my name is Charlie and this is Charlie, and today we are here to discuss all things An Heir to Murder, the first in a cozy crime series starring Alice Valentine and Marmaduke Featherstone, which released a few years ago now, but we don't talk about that. And well, it was Charlie's idea to read this really after we did all of the Doris series at the start of the year. So
That's true, because I hadn't ever read An Heir to Murder. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity just to tag it on to the end of the read along.
One thing I wanted to do before we start is, do you mind if I just read the blurb to give everyone an idea of?
Perfect idea.
Actually,
what could be more perfect than the author reading your own blurb?
Yeah, who minds that we're the only two people here?
It doesn't matter. I don't care, Charlie.
This is everyone in the future.
Oh,
Alice
no,
Valentine. Sorry. I thought it was me. It's me. Alice Valentine has lost her job. Her auntie is dead, and she's just discovered she owns a cottage in Partridge Mews. The last thing she needs is murder on her doorstep. When a retired detective is killed, Alice finds herself embroiled in the investigation. She is aided by Marmaduke Featherstone, a friend of the victim and all-round ragamuffin, with enough skeletons in his closet to make a graveyard jealous. As the bodies begin to pile up, Alice and Marmaduke investigate. They discover a link to an unsolved murder that has haunted the town for decades. If they find the murderer, they will discover who killed the heir to the Greenfields estate 50 years ago. I think that's the only time that I've had such a comprehensive blurb.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to message Kelly and to tell her that we're on live.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine just to be left alone whilst my co-host is just chatting away.
I'm not. I'm just messaging our Kelly because Kelly's like our
Our
favorite.
Kelly.
Oh, she's our lovely Kelly. She's like our. She's not like our child.
You didn't get what I was saying.
What? Oh, our Kelly. Oh, I saw what you were saying. Oh, that's slower. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. I thought you meant like I don't know. Yeah. I'm Charlie. Just my brain is fuzzy, as always. Yeah, because maybe Kelly thought it was going to be half past because sometimes we're half past.
Yes, we had to make things somewhat earlier this time because we found that the late nights affect us poorly in our dotage.
It's hard enough last year with the booker when we were like live reacting, but that was a happy, like sleepy reaction.
Oh, I remember that well.
That was lovely. Afterwards, I was all giddy and jumping.
I was not jumping after that.
I jumped quite a lot. If my joints allow.
Well,
yes.
Anyway, what I'm going to do then, or did you want
the plan then, Charlie? How are we going to go about this?
Well, before we go over to you with your questions, as the author, I'm going to use my authorial right here to ask you, the reader, a question. Without any spoilers, were you able to guess who did it?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I had suspicions. There was one bit where I was like suspicious because I was like, but then I didn't know because there's little red herrings and things. And so I was like, oh, is it this? Is it that? And then I did write notes about it, as I said. But no, I thought it. I can't say who I thought it was, can I? But I was like, I wrote a line that was like this person, and I incorrectly named them. I've already told you who I think it was. I was like, this person.
What's their initial begin with? What's their first initial?
I feel like it gives it away.
Does it?
J.
Oh, yeah, because I remember saying that you weren't the first person to think that.
Yeah, I put J is a liar and the killer.
I didn't expect it to be so dramatic.
I did.
Yeah, like I say, you're not the first person to say that because everyone says to me, you were the writer, so you know who it is, so you're not going to be able to look at it objectively. And so whenever I've been contacted in the past, we are now a few years down the line, and maybe other people haven't, I've not had the chance to speak to obviously every reader who's ever read this, but I'm always interested because to me it's such an easy one.
But I wrote down all the notes, and like I said, because and actually I've probably like before I'd even got to the end, I said I'm not gonna repeat what I said because I won't repeat. But I said the killer wore beep. I'm gonna beep what I said out. And then and this is before I knew who the killer was. And then Charlie was like, in classic Charlie fashion, kind of just like trying to brush it off, but acting a little bit suspicious. And so I don't pick up on this stuff, even though Charlie is, as you guys are watching, Charlie's like one of my best friends. So I should have noticed.
Even my mother didn't. My mum, like when my mum read this book, it was the first time I didn't show this book to anybody until I'd finished it. And like with the Doris books and everything, I always showed a chapter to my mum as it was written, and sometimes shared them with the writers group. Nobody had any knowledge that this book was happening.
So when did you know that you were going to do it then?
That I was going to write it?
Yeah.
Well,
write a cozy crime, because it's very different from the Doris books, even though it's not, and it is. So if you like the Doris books, you will love this.
I've known that I wanted to write a cozy crime novel since I was 12. And I originally planned to write Alice, the first book, which was originally titled The Heirs on His Head. That was bad. It was a bad title. And I wrote 3 chapters. And in those 3 chapters, the first chapter sees Auntie Magdalena is still alive in that book, in that first draft. And I was writing it just after Doris. And as we know, I had the period of unfathomable sadness after Doris. And then when I started writing again, I went straight back into Indisputably Doris. And I always say when that book came out and I had that little bit of not a failure, but it wasn't as successful. I won't say I threw my toys out of the pram, but I decided to just veer off for a bit. So I rewrote a lot of a children's book, and I originally started that in so I released the second Doris book in September 2017, which means that I probably started working on Alice in February or March 2018.
Yeah.
And then
it's ages ago, isn't it? It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing, because I wrote the book in secret. So in July 2018, I'm sure that Katie of Books and Things was hosting a readathon or a read-along of some sort in the July. And I didn't have the time to join in that.
That wasn't the Bellman and Black, though. I think that was the 13th.
No, that wasn't Bellman and Black. No.
I think that could have been the 13th tale that she was doing.
I don't think that it was any of those things. I think it was just something about reading a certain amount of pages and trying to get some books off your shelf. And I was like, well, everyone's going to be doing that. So what I'll do is I'll write instead. And at first I was like, I'll write 1,000 pages. And I ended up writing 2,000 pages, and not 2,000 pages. I wrote 2,000 pages in a day. No, I wrote 2,000 words in a day, which was a lot for me.
Yeah.
And I just kept up this momentum and finished writing the book within a month. And then I just didn't tell anybody about it. So I put that book away in 2018 and went into writing Doris Ahoy. And then when I'd finished Doris Ahoy, I got in touch with Dane and I was like, I've got this secret project that I've been working on. You can't tell anybody about this, but will you be my editor? So my mum was still the first person to read the book, but Dane, there were 5 people in the entire world that knew that the book was happening, because. But I probably should have kept it secret because I brought the book out and then there was a pandemic. So,
but this was for people that are watching in the future. Obviously, like 2018. That's the year I became friends with Charlie, because this is the year I started my YouTube channel, and I started watching your. When did we say that I started? When did I start watching your videos? Like the October that year, or November that year. We have found messages.
Yeah, we did go back and we saw, and
it's 2018 though. So that was the year that
we talked about how tentative the messages sounded.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, we'll have to do a whole other video about that in the future. But yeah,
because we'd have to find everything. Sorry, I very quickly need to respond to a message. So Charlie, whilst I'm responding to this message, feel free to mention any of your thoughts about An Heir to Murder to our wonderful viewers in the future.
I loved it. So yeah, because this is my first time reading the book. Like I said, I can't believe it's like taken me this long to get to it. But yeah, I was reading it. I was buddy reading it with the lovely Kelly, who's probably watching from it in the future. Hi, Kelly. And yeah, we were messaging back and forth, as I've already told you, Charlie. And it was so much fun. And we were like being suspicious of very many people. And Kelly was much better at it than me. I feel like she was good at like. I feel like she's better. She's a better detective than me. Kelly's a better detective than me. Kelly, if you're watching, I know you're a better detective than me. Right? Because I'm sort of like. I'm very suspicious of everybody. So yeah, it was fun. I loved reading it, and it's still got Charlie's sort of warm. You've got the same warmth that you have in the Doris books, but you have that little added like it's like a warm, cozy mystery, but it's just wonderful. It's just so wonderful. It's like I can't. So I'm so annoyed that there's not another book to read. Me and Kelly were like, "There's not a second book." Like Charlie, you need to like seriously.
Well, we'll talk about that later on in the video.
Yes, yeah. That was the only thing. That's the only thing that like, I was like, you've got me liking this book. It's got all these wonderful things.
I have another question for you then.
Okay. Normally it's me asking you questions.
Have you got any questions, I should say?
I mean, I will do. I'm going to work through my notes.
Okay, well, I'll just go with mine then. This is another author. This one's just...
All these questions we'll have to ask people that are watching in the future if anyone does.
I have asked other people this as well. So if anyone's watching and they feel they want to answer and they've read the book and they want to answer, that's fine. But as I say, An Heir to Murder is a book that was basically I'd wanted to write since I was 12, and I started writing it when I was 2017. So I started writing it when I was 25. So there are quite a few characters in the book who were previous sleuths in attempts to write a cozy crime novel.
Oh, really?
Of who they might have been.
Don't get me on this.
I can think of...
But who could be a sleuth?
Yeah, there are 3 characters that I can think of that previously I tried writing the book with.
Was it Doris's grandson, maybe?
Nope.
Because he would have been a good detective, maybe. Little Theo.
Yeah, no, that's true. Don't give me ideas.
Okay, was it cousin Mavis?
Yes.
Ah, there you go. She's got a little coffee shop, you know.
But in conjunction with another character.
Ooh.
So
Enid.
No, did you say who?
Not Enid.
Who the devil is Enid?
Edith.
No, not Edith either.
I'm looking at my characters. I don't know. You've got. I don't know because it can't be any of the suspects. What about Ernie?
No. Okay, I'm just gonna. Well,
Her sister.
Sorry.
Her sister. It's not her sister though.
Who's got a sister?
Doris's sister.
Oh no! I just meant in An Heir to Murder.
Oh, okay.
All of the detectives that I ever had planned appear in An Heir to Murder.
Oh, okay. Martin.
No.
Bill Newton. I'm just gonna go through them.
Was the friend of a detective.
Ooh.
Shall I go way back to the beginning then? I'll go way back and tell the original story. So the first iteration of any sort of crime thing that I was going to try and write was like a crime. It was like Last of the Summer Wine, but with crime involved in it.
Oh, I see. So these older characters, just
it was
like
going to be. So it was Arthur Sterling.
Oh, I nearly said him.
Bill Newton and Clive Constable as 3 characters going out of their way to solve the disappearance of a young girl and a murder that happened in relation to that.
And that actual main plot line is the plot line that goes through. Is that can we say that?
Yeah. So the missing girl plot line is going to be the series arc for a certain number of books, and then but each book will have its own murder. And
say murder in a Scottish voice. Murder.
I can't do the Scottish accent. And so when it came to writing An Heir to Murder, I wish I could remember who the writer was. It's many years ago. I was reading Writing Magazine, and this author was talking about how she had a crime novel idea in her head, but she couldn't get it written. And then what she realized she had to do was kill off her detective.
Oh, no.
And that's what happened for me. I realized Arthur has to die. And when I did that, it gave me the plot for An Heir to Murder. But the thing was that I also had the plot of the person in the past who's been murdered. And so I was linking them together. And
dun, dun, dun.
That's where Clementine Partridge comes in, because she was another person I tried to write the crime novel from in their perspective.
But Clementine's lovely. I like Clementine. I feel like she's kind of like she's like the dark horse, really, isn't she?
Yeah. When Joy read her, she said, "I can't really place her. I can't, And when I read her this time round, I could finally understand what Joy meant, because she has she goes through so many different personalities in the 10 pages she appears in.
No, for me, she's kind of like this. She gives me almost this like almost like a hippie vibe. Like that's the kind of like she's like a very natural person. She's like that's what she kind of gives me. That's the vibes I get. Maybe I'm completely off the wall with it, but that's
no. She was definitely inspired by that sort of person, but then she can also be somewhat strict, which I do think we see when so she was the other detective.
Oh, interesting.
And then, but before I decided to kill off Arthur,
is that a spoiler?
No, it's not a spoiler. It's literally the guy who dies.
I haven't looked at your blurb.
Well, it says retired detective, but there's only 2 retired detectives in the thing. So
one of the murders. There are loads more other murders, so you still can, if you're watching in the future, people, you can still discover the murders.
And so Arthur and Mavis originally teamed up to solve one crime. However, I have absolutely no idea what crime that was, because I never got far enough to write that. I just wrote scenes where there's one where Mavis has just taken a pair of nail scissors and some latex gloves from the cafe, and she thinks that's going to be enough to help them get evidence because she's seen something forensic on the television. I just wrote that scene once.
I remember that in the gloves. And then, no, that's another thing.
And then...
yes, I was going to ask, so going from that, actually, I'll ask you that in a minute. Inspiration.
No, say whatever you were saying.
I was going to say, what were your inspirations then? Like, your cozy crime inspirations?
So, I don't know. I did read MC Beaton's Agatha Raisin series, and I do think that there's definitely something of the brash character in Alice. But my inspiration really was more this wish to turn the stereotypical crime novel on its head. So there's a lot of tortured grown men with alcohol problems. And I decided that I just wanted to have a rather angry young woman who has a penchant for Pinot Grigio. It also helps that every single Wednesday at the time, me and my mother would go to the supermarket and buy a bottle of Pinot Grigio, and we would spend our evening drinking it every Wednesday.
Aww,
we don't do that anymore, but we did do it then.
That's lovely, though.
And I also wanted. It's also because you see so many broken homes in detective fiction. So I decided, no, Alice is going to have both of her parents. She's going to have a really lovely family, but for whatever reason, she is just angry with the world.
But she's still really good though, because she's not like always angry. She doesn't seem always angry. I think she I know maybe she.
Yeah, I don't think she's always angry. I think that she just is very easy to get fed up, and she doesn't really care about. She doesn't think before she speaks.
That's okay. We like that. I'm very much of that ilk myself.
It's fine. I'm just trying to get through my tea before it goes cold.
You just make me jealous of wanting to get myself a pink cup of water.
Sorry.
I'll get it in a second. It's fine. So yeah. So those were sort of like. So you don't. So in terms of books you read, you said you read the Agatha Raisin series.
Yeah.
Did you read any were you into crime Right, I'm gonna rephrase this. I'm not gonna say were you into crime when you were a child. I don't mean that. Oh, hello, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Okay, watch back later. Yes, hello, we did Richard. Start somewhat earlier today, so sorry for that. We've not really said anything important, but if you're sticking around, we'll ask you a question later on.
Yeah, we've got questions. We've got questions for the audience.
No, so you're asking whether I liked the crime genre and what have you?
Yeah, so did you watch? Were there any TV shows or anything? Because me personally, I love a bit of true crime.
No, I've never been one for true crime. No, that's the one that leaves me cold, which sounds awful. I know. But
I think I sound more awful.
I am here for the whole reason that Bertram is called Bertram is because
Bertram's Hotel.
Because of Bertram's Hotel being my favourite Miss Marple, despite the fact it's probably it's not the best Miss Marple. There's not a lot happening in terms of murder and everything.
I did pick up though. As soon as I saw that name, I was like, "That's Charlie's favourite Agatha Christie," and I did remember that. So,
and Dane picked up on the fact that there's a Murgatroyd in there, and so I believe that there is a Murgatroyd in Agatha Christie. However, the Murgatroyd in An Heir to Murder isn't actually based on the Agatha Christie. It's based on the name of my mother's orthodontist. Not because they were a nice person, just because the name Murgatroyd has been spoken around so much that it went in there.
It was quite a niche name.
But definitely, I was the person who, whenever I was at my grandmother's house, it was always Murder, She Wrote, or Diagnosis Murder, Wycliffe. What else is there? I could never watch A Touch of Frost. Hi, Kelly.
Oh, hi, Kelly. Hey, lovely. Hey, Kelly.
Oh, yes, Murder at the Vicarage. I also recommend that when it comes to adaptations, if you can listen to the radio plays with June Whitfield playing Miss Marple.
Oh, okay.
Because
but you didn't like Frost. People outside the UK.
It wasn't that I didn't like A Touch of Frost. I mentioned it for a very specific reason that I tell everybody about. I don't know what it is about that show, but every time the theme music to A Touch of Frost would play, I would fall asleep.
Oh, really?
I have no idea why. Because there were times I'd be staying at my grandmother's and she'd put A Touch of Frost on, and I would deliberately, focus so hard on staying awake because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. and that music would start, and I would fall asleep.
I literally love that show so much. Me and Richard have watched it we've watched each episode probably. I mean, it's very dated now, so I don't. It's not like it's something I recommend for the public, but yeah, it's a good show. Do you guys, Kelly? Have you heard of Touch of Frost, or is that just a British thing? Because some things I don't know what has gone over the waters. So yeah, you have to tell us.
And also to Callie and Richard, we will, since you're both here, we'll ask you the question now. I'm looking over here because I can see their names over here, but I should just look at the camera. Did you
look at whatever
guess
you want to look at
the murderer in An Heir to Murder?
Did they hear? Say it again.
Did you guess the murderer in An Heir to Murder? There is no prize for this.
I think I know. Do I know? Actually, do I know? Say.
Oh, it's on BritBox. Maybe I could watch it and stay awake this time.
I know you won't. You've got too many other things to watch. Charlie won't.
I do have so much to watch.
I know you, Charlie. It was like, yeah, maybe.
Well, yeah, it's like I can. We go back to the anecdote of a film that had come out, and we had the DVD of it donated to the charity shop. And I said to the person, "Oh, I've been meaning to see that." And when we looked into it, it turned out the film had been out 11 years before.
Oh, really? 11? Wow, that's a long time. Annabelle, can you go downstairs? My daughter's just come into the room. I'm terribly sorry. Let's have a look. I'll put some comments up. Frost could be a mixed bag. The writer... Hey, oh, I haven't heard of him. That writer before. Yeah. It's a show I like. Then I do like a lot of those kinds of shows. But yeah, I think your book is just like one of the things I like about your book is that it's got the classic sort of, if you like, as I already have said, if you like Charlie's existing books, you will love this book because it still has all those elements, but it still has that little bit of mystery, and it's nothing too brutal. I feel like it's something you can kind of read even if you wanted to before bed, and it's still got the suspense. And
yes, I can remember when I read it for the first time at Congleton Library, and there was a certain the discovery of a certain body, and I'd said there was nothing grim or gory in the book, and then I was reading that and got to the discovery, and I just had to keep going because I couldn't end the scene in the middle of it. I was like, I know what's coming up here. And I was like, that's the goriest thing I ever did right.
Up till now, enter book 2.
Oh gosh, yes, yes. But once again, we'll chat about that later.
We'll chat about that later. Let's have a look at the comments. So Kelly said, I guessed, but then changed my mind because I thought the murderer was protecting someone. Kelly, I'm not going to say who. Again, I thought it was, and Kelly knows this. I think we've spoken about this before. I thought that it was Jay, and I was convinced it was Jay, and I even wrote a note saying, what did I tell you, Charlie, beforehand? I was like, Jay is the killer. Jay, no, what did I say?
You said
Jay is a liar and the killer.
But it's funny reading Kelly's comment there because I, having read that scene with the character I just talked about before and saying about them not being able to be pinned down and that sort of thing, when I was walking around Mac Forest the other day, having just read An Heir to Murder, I was thinking, oh my goodness, that would have been such a good twist. Why didn't we do that?
It's true. It's so cool. I feel like you did do loads of you were really good at writing red herrings, which I'll ask you about, how you go about doing that in a minute.
You're going to be very disappointed with the answer.
So Richard said, no, I didn't get the murder, but I loved the way it was told and the links to the to Doris. Yeah, honestly, that's my favorite bit. Me and Kelly were loving that, weren't we, Kelly? We were literally messaging each other, writing but to begin with, I was rubbish at that, which I'll tell you, but we'll talk about that again a little bit further on. But it was so much fun. The links to Doris and this, even when she stands. So Alice at one point goes outside of Doris's house to meet Mavis,
She doesn't go to meet Mavis, but she ends up meeting Mavis. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. And it's just really funny because she's standing outside, terrified that of meeting Doris, and it's like I was just laughing my head up at that. It just made me laugh. Hi, Mark. Mark read the book, and because Mark did a little review on Instagram, I did show Charlie your review, Mark. So thank you for that.
I'm glad when people enjoy the book. Although nothing is ever going to beat the review of Nothing Outstanding, really. It is always nice when people actually enjoy the book.
Yeah, no, Mark wrote a lovely review. It was lovely. So thank you. What was I going to say? I'm going to lose all train of thought tonight. Annabelle, can you get out of here? Because I can't concentrate when you're in here. It's hard to, sorry. 1 second. I'll message your father and then he'll get cross. Anyway, sorry, distraction. So, what was I saying about the? I'm gonna go to the thing. Oh yeah, at the beginning, the red herrings. That's what it was.
Okay.
So we go to the red herrings. How do you go about writing her red herrings? And how do you plan them?
This is going to sound awful, but I don't plan the red herrings, and I didn't even know that there were red herrings in the book until people had started pointing them out to me.
There were loads of red herrings. Me and Kelly were like, oh, it's this person, or it's that person.
I'm not even joking. This is why I said that, and it's why I asked the question, did you guess who did it? Because I was so certain that I hadn't put enough in there enough red herrings or anything to distract the reader and say it could be this person, it could be this person. I was certain as soon as that body was discovered, as soon as something happened, that people were going to see it and discover it. And like I say, my mother had to go at me the first time she read it because she was like, it can't be that person. I've read it and it can't be that person. And I'm just like, well, I'm glad that I had the skill and foresight I didn't know I had to insert these red herrings in here, because I'll admit when I went back and I was reading it myself, there were occasions where I was like, oh, well, it could have been this person. But it was certainly, none of the red herrings were planned.
If it would have been one person, though, I would have been like this. I would have been like, my heart would have been broken because, like as I will highlight. So I'm gonna say, like Kelly said, we loved the characters in this book. Like the characters in this book were just not classic Charlie characters because they're just like characters with real big hearts. They're all quite a bit. They're all different. They're all distinctive. But we were like, we love the characters in this book, and you kind of get attached to them, and you just want the best, for especially certain people. You're hoping they're going to be okay, and so we love the characters in this book. So I was hoping when it got to the murderer, especially, which I'm not trying to spoil anything. I will be careful not to say anything else, but I was hoping that it wasn't, and I was like, it would have been really distraught. But so Kelly said from Partridge Muse, yes, all the characters of Partridge Muse.
Yeah, I love the
Suspicious of Jay, but I was obsessed with Tweed. It's got so much Tweed.
I really wish I'd done more with the Tweed. That's one of the things, because Clementine is a country woman, and I feel like I could have done so much more with the Tweed there. And even Primrose, to an extent, has all these different hobbies. I could have had every single character walking in at a different point in a different type of Tweed and making it incredibly difficult. Literally, I think I mentioned Tweed twice.
I know, but we were obsessed with it. I wrote notes on it, though. As soon as it occurred, I was like, I told you this. I think I messaged you, actually.
No, you did, because we were speaking to each other, and I said, that should have been the tide.
Yes. Yeah, it should have been. What else I've got in my notes? I'm just gonna So like every time someone was mentioned, me and Kelly, me and Kelly were messaging each other, being like, "Oh, it's this person from this book, from the book. It's this person." Like I said, you don't have to have read Charlie's previous books to enjoy this, but if you have read Charlie's previous books, you will enjoy it so much more. Charlie. Yeah, we were looking for links to Doris. Yeah, we were constant. We were relentless, weren't we, Kelly? We were. I did tell Charlie as well, so I was going. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So was it? How was the experience of writing a crime book as opposed to writing your Doris book? And which do you enjoy writing more? Do you have a favorite, or?
No, I don't have a favorite for writing.
Yeah. Well,
in terms of the Alice book, it was very much a case of writing something that I wanted to write, and I really, I was keeping it a secret, so I was trusting my own gut and everything, and there was a lot of planning going on with this book that perhaps hadn't been with the Doris books. But this also ended up being the faster book to write because of the focus that I took with the final part of the book. And so I'd say, I think that they're just very different experiences. So, there's no way to quantify which I preferred.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just it's a different style, but do you feel like you said you struck your planning structure was slightly different? That's what the only thing that you would say.
The cozy crime novels are everything is planned. Which character's going to be in which scene, who needs to appear where. The only thing that changed in An Heir to Murder was originally Primrose wasn't going to be such a big character.
Yeah.
But the character kept having conversations with Alice and almost was begging to have more of a role in the book. And so that's why Primrose is such a big presence in the book, which wasn't planned originally.
We love Primrose.
But that was one of my things, that she was my favorite character to write. Because she is perhaps the only character that I've ever written who looks for the positive in everything.
Oh, that's nice.
It's
very positive. I like that.
When she gets told that Alice has lost a job right at the beginning, and she goes, "Well, I guess I'll be buying a lunch then." Or when she says, rather than getting embarrassed about not realizing she's still got a rucksack on, she says, "That's one of the many wonders of modern clothing. There's no weight to it. I swear I could fit 70 tins of baked beans inside and walk to Tunstall with little complaint." She was just such an incredibly positive character.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. Was
nice to write her.
Yeah. Should we look at some comments? I think it's clever how Charlie writes in the Partridge News area, but it has a different feeling to this series. Yeah, it does. It really does. And it's familiar, but not samey, if you know what I mean. 100%, Richard. That's exactly what me and Kelly, I think Kelly would reiterate that as well. It definitely feels very separate from the Doris books, and it does have a very different vibe. But if you like as I said before, if you like the Doris books, you will love.
Again, that's something that Dane and I talked about, and actually Joy was one of the beta readers for this book, from Joy Winkler, who I talk about all the time. And she said that I had to watch out sometimes because there were occasions when I might veer too far into the Harold voice. And so there was a lot of going in and changing stuff. Even when Dane came to edit it, he would still find things and say, "No, this is too close to how Harold speaks. It should sound more like this." And so we did work on keeping it still, having the humorous and the light-hearted voice and this almost homely sense.
Yeah, definitely.
To the book, whilst it's still having the crime in it and it's still being related to Doris.
What was it like writing about like from like obviously like you said you've written Harold for so long and then changing it to changing to Alice. How was that for you?
Well, it was the complete antithesis to Harold, really,
Because she does
because
look different.
I've got a 75-year at the time. Harold was only 75, but I'd got a 75-year-old man who's been in a committed relationship for 50 years, and he's done everything. Whereas I had Alice, who is 25. She's watching all of her friends and family, not her family, watching all of her school friends go off and get married and build careers. And she has just lost her job, and she isn't sure what she wants from life. She isn't in any sort of relationship because they keep going bad. And then she just ends up finding a dead neighbor. And it's almost like this comedy of it's not a comedy of errors, but it's like all these things just keep piling up, so it reaches the point where it's like, well, I may as well solve a murder because everything else is going wrong in life right now.
She's quite a strong young lady though, isn't she? Like you said, I don't know, like you said, she can be a bit grumpy, but I think she's very, very strong-minded. I feel like even though she's young, I do feel like she's got a fair good sense of herself considering her age.
Yeah.
Like, considering her age, I do think she's got a good sense of herself. I know she's obviously got a lot more to learn and all of those things. Could there be a potential? There's the character, there's Jez that we all love. Is there the potential for a little bit of romance between Jez and Alice? Has that been considered? Is this a thing? Like,
well, because I haven't, because Jez is gay and married to a man.
Oh yeah, of course he is. Why are you saying that? Jez is married. Why? I want a relationship for Alice. Can you find love for Alice in the next books? That's a question.
I will say that
if not with Jez, who's married to
a man.
To a man. So it's definitely not going to happen. We do love Jez though.
Oh,
did I forget Jez was married? Okay.
Oh goodness.
That's no reflection on Charlie's writing, just the fact that I'm tired.
It is the first thing that is said when we meet him as well, so
That's true.
Literally one of the people in a committed relationship that I was talking about just now. Either way, I do have there are plans in place for Alice to have some form of romance in future.
Yes, we want to get.
I know who the character is. However, the way in which things are being planned at the moment, it's definitely not happening in book 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely not happening in book 3.
Ooh.
There might be sparks of it in books 4 and 5, but if there is any romance, it's going to be slow, and because of the way that I get annoyed in terms of crime novels where the romance overtakes the
I understand
time.
I understand that.
It's never going to.
And also, she is her own independent woman. She doesn't need a man to like fulfill her and all of this anyway. And she's still very young. You don't want her to like you're not trying to settle or like marry her off or anything like that. I was just intrigued if she was going to get any action.
Well, no, because this was something that Brian talked about, or Bookish, when he reviewed it a few years ago, and said that what he liked was that Alice wasn't in a relationship and she wasn't seeking a man. And I sent him, and I commented on it, apologizing, because I know from future plans that she is going to embark upon relationships. Some of them are going to fail, and
that's like normal 25-year-old, like 25 plus. On the dating scene.
And when we eventually get to talking about future books in a minute, then I'll talk about part of it then. But yes, there is a plan for her to have a relationship, but it's not set in stone as to when it's going to properly solidify.
That's fair enough, Charlie.
But I will say that the character has been mentioned in An Heir to Murder.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Me and Kelly are gonna have to. I bet Kelly already knows who it is.
Okay, Callie, you have a guess. Who do you think that Alice might be embarking upon some form of relationship with? Oh, and Richard, you can answer that question if you would like to as well.
But Charlie, if everyone wore tweed, we would have suspected. Well, I think I did suspect everyone, Kelly. I think I already did.
She even suspected Ernie.
Sorry?
You even suspected Ernie.
Yes. No, I didn't suspect Ernie. No, because Ernie, I was annoyed at Ernie. Me and Kelly were talking about this because Ernie, and actually, I was worried for him. That's what it was. I was worried for him because he went out and hung out with Janice Dooley. If people who are watching, he hung out with Janice Dooley. Janice Dooley is not, I wouldn't say the villain, but she's the antithesis of Doris, isn't she?
Yeah, she's definitely on the antagonistic side of Doris. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's the antagonist in our Doris. And Ernie went out with Janice. I don't know whether he went out with her, but he didn't go out with her. But he was out with her.
Yeah.
I was concerned for Ernie.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that concern. I'm also pretty sure we met Ernie before in a Doris book. That's one of the problem about writing these books for so long. I forget who's appeared where.
Kelly says she loves Alice, and Kelly obviously remembered that Jess was married. I'm so stupid. How can I forget that? It's because I just remember loving Jess so much and being like, but no, you're right. Jess is married. But Jess is like, I want Jess. This is another question actually from my point of view. Will Jess be appearing in the future books?
Yes. There was no doubt in my mind that Jez would be one of the characters appearing.
Is he going to be like part of their super sleuthing squad?
Well, basically, the Alice Valentine books are a bit tropey, and
I like that.
They use the familiar things from cozy crime novels, and one of those things is having a connection to the police force. And so he's basically, if we were to look at if we were looking at Agatha Raisin, then Jez would be synonymous with Bill Wong. If we were looking at Poirot, he'd be the Inspector Japp. He'd be that sort of character.
He's the tie into the police force.
Yeah. And he was also, because I really wanted one of the most committed relationships within the series to be a gay relationship, a gay marriage, even that, I wanted that to be like, kind of like, what's the word? Not the standing stone, but I wanted it to be one of the firm relationships within the series. Cornerstone, yes. Yeah.
So Charlie said, Richard said, "Oh, Charlie making him have an affair with a woman." I mean,
yeah.
I feel a bit sorry for his husband though, if that's the case. So we don't want to like endorse
especially
that.
Since his husband starts appearing from book 2.
We're gonna get some of Jez's husband. And
Charlie knows that Jez's husband has a huge presence in the charity shop book. So
that means I'm not gonna say. Can I say? You need to say. Can you say?
What were you going to say? What were you going to say?
The character's name, because did his name get named? It was named.
Yeah,
was it named?
He's Ben.
Yeah. So you can say it.
He's Ben Wetherill, and he performs as the drag queen Elaine Closure.
And that is a thing for the next book.
And that is the thing for the next book. But Elaine Closure is more likely to appear in the charity shop book than. Yes. See, I just wanted her to have friends.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Their friendship is just so gorgeous, and yeah. I love that. I love that so much.
I like Kelly's next message here.
Oh, you don't. I didn't mean to.
There you go. You got it.
You clicked at the same time.
Yeah. I thought it was sweet when Jez's husband made Jez invite Alice to tea because Jez said they weren't friends. I loved it too when I read it. I mean, I wrote it, but when I went back and read it, I'd forgotten that bit. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like Ben.
Could it be Alf's nephew?
I think you might mean Alf's grandson. And the answer's no. But Martin, who is Alf's grandson, is the protagonist of the charity shop novel.
Yes.
So Martin is friends with Ben.
There you go. They're friends.
And they're basically, at the moment, the two characters who've appeared in the first chapter of the charity shop novel.
There you go. I think a new character will come in that we may find has a mysterious past, and us as a keeper in the town.
We aren't going to be seeing any llamas, but new character with a mysterious past might be true. And as I say, this new character with a mysterious past is mentioned in An Heir to Murder.
What were your guys' favourite things? So apart from like the friendships and things like that, you guys can tell us your highlights from the books. For the book, sorry. I'm used to talking about all the doors.
Just keep highlighting the fact that there isn't another book there, Charlie.
Yeah, I know. Me and Kelly, like I said, when we finished, we were like, we want there to be another book. We want there to be another book. I was like, I think I messaged Charlie and been like, so how are you getting on with that book? Yeah.
Well, would you like me to be quite honest about the next book?
You can be honest.
Would you like to go into discussing the next book now, or shall we stick to An Heir to Murder for a minute?
We can stick to An Heir to Murder.
Okay.
So, right. I've got Belle, please don't be in my video. My daughter is snuggling in. It's okay. If everything bounces around for a second. Darling, I don't... Okay. This is why you have live shows. Anyway, I'm going to go scrolling through my questions and my notes and see whether there's anything that leaps out in my notes. If you guys have got anything to say in the comments, please do bring it up. What have I got? I've got the structure. Oh yeah, this is one thing I was going to say at the beginning. So this is the thing that's funny, but this shows my dappiness. So I was reading. I'm moving over. Sorry. Sorry. But someone's snuggling up in the bed next to me. At the beginning of the book, Mavis appears, and because I'm stupid, I didn't realise that Mavis was the Mavis of...
Wait, yeah.
I didn't realise Mavis was Doris's cousin, because I just didn't put two and two together. I have no idea why, because Emily was... I said, message Emily, I messaged Charlie, and Charlie was like, there's quite a big character. I think Kelly knew who it was. And I was just being a bit stupid and a bit slow on the uptake as always. So that was that. Obviously, I've written about Janice, Julie, and Ernie because I was indignant. I've got to be careful not to give any spoilers away. I put can I say this? No, I don't know what to say. No, I don't want to say anything about spoilers. I mentioned I've written Joanna Hollinshead went missing ? Yeah. Because Joanna Hollinshead, so I know you said in terms of this ties into the future books again with the planning of this. So when did you? So this was this. Did you write the Joanna? Did you plan the Joanna stuff before you planned the main plot for this book, or was it which way around?
I knew that I want. So basically, that was fueled by Joe Nesbo, really, and the and his Harry Hole books, because they're within the first three that were published in Britain anyway. There is a storyline that runs through the three, and I knew that I wanted a storyline that would run a course over a few books. And so originally, a lot of people have come to me and think that the next book is going to solve this mystery, but rather than solve that mystery, it's going to be a bit like how you see things on television as it unrolls, in that they're going to discover one thing and then that's going to lead into something bigger. So even at the moment, it just looks like the mystery of what's going on with Joanna Hollinshead, but it's going to end up being
a bigger picture.
It's going to become this huge thing of more secrets unraveling about Partridge Mews, and things that have happened over decades, not just this one character going missing.
That's very interesting.
An Heir to Murder, I didn't know where Joanna was or what had happened to her until after I'd finished writing An Heir to Murder.
Ah, there you go. So that's interesting. But yeah, I'll have a look at. Do you want to highlight some comments, or do you want me to highlight some comments?
I can do. We've seen Richard for the next one is Kelly's. I enjoy getting to know another side to Mavis. Loved Alice as a character. She and Marmaduke together. Yes, theirs was a relationship that I just hoped was going to work.
They're unlikely friends. They are unlikely friends.
I didn't. I wondered whether they were ever going to start getting on with each other, because they just seem to fall out all the time. And I'm sure they're going to fall out again in future. They're just, at the moment, they're being kind.
You need that. I feel like you need that because they kind of banter off each other. Yeah,
they
feel
do.
Like, because they're not complete. Like, obviously, they are very different people. They come from very different spaces. He's got all, like you said, a wealth of experience. He's got all this history in the police. Like, because he was a police.
He was, yeah, and I think that something that I've only realized recently is that they're almost replacing the people that they've lost. So Duke's almost finding a Joanna substitute in Alice.
Yeah.
And Alice is almost finding an Auntie Magdalena substitute from Duke.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Kind of got this very tentative relationship where they're trying to get something that the other person can't give because they're not the other person. And in my head,
also they offer something new as well, don't they? They give that support structure, but yeah.
And if my plans work out in future books, then that's something that will definitely get looked at.
Ah, there we go. There we go. You heard it here first, people. Do you want to highlight the next? I'll highlight some comments. I think a new character will come in. Oh, you've done that.
We did that too. We've done this. Come on, Richard, Kelly, type some more. Charlie needs
comments. Come on, Kelly. Just keep typing. Give us more content. Whilst I'm looking at my notes. Here we go. It's because my iPad keeps going off, and then I have to keep putting the number in. You need to smooth.
Well, I ask my questions.
Yeah, have you asked them the other second question?
Okay, Callie and Richard, if you are still here, or indeed to anybody who is here,
get them to ask them the questions.
I created 5 different detectives before I finally settled on Alice Valentine and Marmaduke Featherstone. These characters are mentioned or appear in An Heir to Murder. Can you guess who they may have been?
Dun dun dun! Did I?
And Kelly says, I feel that is part of the relationship. Yes, I was just writing that. The pain too is part of relationship.
Yeah.
Kelly
and me like this. What did she? I didn't see what Richard said.
Oh, sorry. I read too quickly. The Molehill Murders of Partridge Mews.
Right, I'm going to go down my notes. I'm just going to scroll. So yeah, we've got Isabel. I've got to be careful. I worry about about giving spoilers. If someone is pregnant by somebody else, is this linked? Mentioned again. Important. Isabel's father. Actually, it was proved to be someone else. So that was.
Oh, I remember now. I was like, what the devil are you talking
about? If someone was pregnant, I didn't know if it was linked. So I thought it was like it could be like a little clue, but it wasn't a clue. It's
that would have been a great one.
Yes. See,
I should remember that for book 2. I should steal that for book 2.
There you go. Because it was linked. Because the pregnancy, I was thinking about the pregnancy. I was thinking, this is historical. Is this linked?
Yeah.
But actually, I don't. We didn't find out who Isabel's father was. Did we find out who Isabel's father was?
No, I thought that was the.
Did we? Kelly, do you remember? Did we find out who Isabel's father was?
I thought it was the
not
father.
Isabel's father. It's not Isabel's.
The father of Isabel's baby.
Yes, the father. Did we find out who the father of the baby was?
Blooming heck, I don't even know who the father was.
I put the father was proved to be someone else, but did we ever get it named?
Did I?
I can't remember. But anyway, I know it was proved to be someone else. You're gonna hold on a second. I'm just gonna mute. Hold on a second.
Okay. Well, I'm going to continue and try and find out who the father of Isabel's baby was, but I can't find a page. I don't think. So, Kelly, where are we? So, you're right. Marmaduke was a character on his own who might have originally had a series, but there are a few other characters. Do you mean they are characters who are detectives who are just ordinary characters? So, in An Heir to Murder, they are just ordinary characters. But I previously tried writing several different cozy crime tales with with these characters. So it was just to see whether you could guess who those 5 people might be. And I
I'm
don't.
done, sorry.
Oh no, that's fine.
Sorry, I missed what you said. Sorry, you have to tell me.
I was just telling. I was telling these two. What I meant when I asked if they could figure out who the other sleuths were when I tried writing.
Yeah.
And then Kelly's just put. I'm sure that I just left it as someone else.
Yeah, so that could be something you use.
It could be something I use in future. I am this type of person.
Yeah, we like that. I also wrote. I don't know if I can say that though. Can I say about what the killer wore?
Well, we've already mentioned it here. I mentioned.
Oh, yeah, okay, we have. I put the killer wore tweed ?
Yeah.
That's what me. This is when me and Kelly were back and forth about the tweed. Also, I love that the garden safari is mentioned because you mentioned the garden safari, which I love.
Do, and now the garden safari has taken on a bigger significance and a bigger meaning, and once again,
for the charity shop book or for the series future this series
for the cozy crime series. So shall I? I'm going to give the blurb for the second book here now. Okay.
Exclusive.
So it wasn't originally my intention that the 2 series would coincide so much, but in the writing of the second book that has happened. So there is a side plot within the second of the series in which Marmaduke and Alice end up investigating poison pen letters that are being sent to the committee members of the Partridge Muse Women's Institute. And naturally within that, we're going to lead to the garden safari getting a bit more significance.
Oh, we're gonna love that, Kelly, aren't we? And Richard and whoever else is watching.
The other connection is that the book begins with Alice breaking up with a boyfriend.
Oh, poor Alice.
And then the next day, he's in hospital because he's been assaulted. He says that his grandmother, Gloria Hebblethwaite, fell to her death off a cruise that they were recently on. Then, when Alice is in the local grocery store the next day, she comes across a body in the freezer. This is also purported to be Gloria Hebblethwaite, but not the Gloria that she knows. Then, when she goes to try and find Ryan, who is the boyfriend, she comes across another body. The Gloria Hebblethwaite that she actually knows. 3 Gloria Hebblethwaites. One killer.
I want this book now. I'm so annoyed it's not written.
And for another exclusive, just for the live show, because I have spent the last few months really trying hard to try and get this book written so that I could announce that the second book was done and would be coming out to you by a specific date. Unfortunately, I can't write as fast as that.
That's okay, though. We can be patient.
Due to other obligations and all of that. And sometimes life gets in the way. So all I can
Plus,
say
you are
is,
writing the charity shop book as well.
well, this is where I have to admit that that's a bit of a fib. Because for 2 months I have focused on the second Alice Valentine.
Oh, my foot really hurts. I put it on the
On a
side.
second, sorry. Wait, on a second. Charlie's just done a big revelation. Thank you very much, my darling. Go run it under cold water. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I really want to hear all this, but just give me a minute.
Okay. Well, whilst we wait for Charlie to come back, we can have the further revelation in a minute. So yes, so this is the second cozy crime novel starring Alice Valentine and Marmaduke Featherstone, and it does link in somewhat more to the Doris series. And yeah, otherwise, apart from writing,
Sorry.
is everything okay?
She spilt some hot water on her. So I think she spilt some boiling water on her foot.
Well, anyway, the only announcement that I was going to have then was that I am actually now halfway through having written the second Alice Valentine book. And
Yay! Oh, I'm so excited.
with any luck, it should be finished at some point this year, hopefully put for publication next year.
That means we got another book next year. Yay! Because
well, you could have another book at the end of this year if I finish the poetry collection too. So
okay.
you know, and you want Alice Valentine, you get poetry. It's who I am. People wanted Doris Moore, they got Alice Valentine. So yeah, so that's that book. And throughout that time, I've also been planning the third, fourth, and fifth book.
That's good.
So hopefully I can. I don't like to say anything, you know, I'll touch wood and all that, but if I was that type of writer, I'd be able to just kind of get all of these books out in a timely fashion. But I do know their plots now. I know how they're linked, and I know that the big culmination of the series is going to involve a few more characters from the Doris books, but it's still very much going to be an Alice Valentine tale.
Which is what we love. So yay! Oh yay, how exciting. Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Should we look at the comments?
We can.
Where we go. Do you mean have we done this one already? I've
done the top two. Then we have this one from Richard, which when I started sharing all the revelations.
This is very exciting.
I believe that Primrose and Jez is related to who were detectives I tried writing before. Unfortunately, neither of those characters are. Both Primrose and Jez. There were only, they were 2 of 3 new characters that were created for this. Otherwise, everybody else that I had written about before. I mean, most kind. I have to actually write the thing first, and people could say it's the worst thing they've ever read.
Silly.
I'm having trouble imagining anyone but your characters.
That's so nice.
And then, I think that. No, I don't. I was about to say I think that I have poetry somewhere online, but I don't. It's available. I only have 2 poems that are available to read out in the world currently.
I've got them all on my exclusive people. I've got them all on my. You've got them
You've
all.
actually got them all. Yeah,
I got them all.
you're the only person in the world apart from me who has them all.
Yeah. This is what friends are for. Gotta be some perks.
True.
No, there's lots. We have lots of laughter. We have lots of chats. There's plenty of perks. We have our crazy tea mornings.
We do. Well, for you,
Yeah,
tea. For me, they're coffee as I try to come to life.
sometimes I feel bad that we haven't recorded them for everybody.
Yeah, sometimes I think about that. Whenever we finish our chats over tea, I'm like, oh, we should really turn this into something. We should monetize this content. But then I think about some of the things we talk about, and I think we couldn't do that because we get done for libel.
Yeah, we have to edit. We'd have to have the ability to edit.
It would literally be just a case of done in 10 seconds because we would not be able to include any of the dialogue.
We would be, the problem is it would be hours and hours of editing. Like when me and Charlie do, because I think we're going to do it again this year. We did our Christmas crackers last year, and we're going to change how we do it though, aren't we? I think we're going to do them as live shows.
We're going to do the live shows in the hopes of not. I mean, we were going on for 5 hours at a time, weren't we, last year?
It was a lot.
Yeah, like
and
we
then
started
editing,
at 10 o'clock.
and then we had to edit them and then put them out. Like that was.
Yeah.
It was good though. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. That's something else I need to talk to you about. So yeah.
How are you guys? Let us know in the comments below. How has your day been?
Does anyone have any questions as well about An Heir to Murder that I haven't answered?
Any questions about writing? You can ask Charlie any writing questions. You can ask Charlie any questions about the books. Put any questions about, if you've got any questions about Doris books, if you want to put any questions about anything like that, and Charlie's more than happy to. If you've got Charlie here, he will answer. No, he will answer.
This is true. I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere ready to answer questions. I've sent my siblings to the cinema, and I've got my parents in front of the soaps, so I can answer anything.
Yeah. Yes. How is right, I'll go back. I'm gonna go look at my notes again and see what else. I'm just gonna scroll down because that's how I did write some questions, but I haven't got to that bit yet. Yeah. So bit 3. I put end of chapter 20. Alice was very mad.
Oh, I'm going to the end of chapter 20 right now. I'm going to the end of chapter 20 right now.
And then I put yeah.
Oh, I loved that.
I loved it. I loved it too. I just said she was mad. You can read what you want to read.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not going to read any of it, but
okay.
Oh, I did love that scene.
Yeah, right. I'm putting my tea down. I put can I say it? I don't know what I can say and what I can't say.
Just feel free to say anything, and then
you can't edit it though. You can't. This is where you can't edit.
Richard,
edit the Charlie.
Sorry, my 2 lovely people in Cali and all. I have to fly. Got to be up at 4 to go back to Manchester. May your partridges fly to your pear trees.
Love you. Bye bye. Thanks for joining us, Richard.
Thank you for coming, Richard. That was most unexpected and kind.
You're lovely. Thank you.
Callie says, that is how I found you. Please elucidate, for I do not know what I said.
Yeah, how did you find us, Kelly? Tell how you found Charlie.
The Christmas crackers.
Oh, the Christmas crackers. You found us from the Christmas crackers. We had the most fun. Like they were like it was crazy, but and we don't like no. But we did have the most fun though, didn't we?
We did.
We don't have to do as many, even if we just do one.
No, that's not what I was saying, but I'll tell you what I was going to be saying afterwards.
Okay.
It's nothing bad.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep going down my notes.
Okay.
I put Theo got mentioned.
Yeah. Do you know, I forgot that I'd mentioned him.
How did you forget Theo? You mentioned him a few times, actually.
My friend sent, this is my friend Lindsay, who edited the first Doris book. She contacted me when she read An Heir to Murder and just wrote Theo exclamation mark, exclamation mark. It's like, what do you mean, Theo? And I honestly had to go back to that book and read it. And when I read it this time, I'd forgotten he was there as well. He just gets around, that boy does.
He does. He is like floating around. He's like hovering in the background in a few scenes.
But also weirdly, I just had this idea. I just realised that I've just realised that I wrote a scene the other day, and I can't say it because it's spoilers, but in this moment, I've just realised there is a perfect character from the Doris books who would have fit in that scene, as we've just been talking in this minute.
There you go.
But I can't change it because that means editing.
Yeah, that's fine. We won't expect you to change anything. That's fine. Where was I writing? I did write a thing about green tea, but I can't find that.
Oh, green tea.
Oh, here we go. I love Primrose and her love of green tea. That's what I wrote.
Her green tea that she puts tons and tons of honey in.
Yeah. But the thing I like about, because she says about like the bitterness, which is what like I have a morning tea in the morning. Obviously, it's the morning. One of my morning, Charlie knows my routines. I have like certain routines with my things, and one day I'll have a milk oolong tea, and then the next day I'll have a mint. It's a mint and green tea, and green tea does have this specific taste, and I like how she mentioned it. That I appreciated it. Oh, I know what I wrote that made me laugh. It makes me laugh reading it. I put Auntie Magdalena divorced husband number 5 for not in capitals liking sticky toffee pudding. Shock face emoji. Shock face emoji.
Yeah, I remember you sending me that.
And I put, who doesn't like sticky toffee pudding?
Auntie Magdalena's 5th husband.
Oh, clearly. I love sticky toffee pudding. It's like one of my favorite puddings. Yeah.
The only reason Auntie Magdalena got so many husbands is so that I could send Alice jet setting off around the world if I wanted to.
That's quite fun, though.
It's like it's one of the reasons that the Valentine family is so huge. So I could set it up here, you know, like in Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher was always disappearing off somewhere in the world to go and visit a cousin.
Oh, that's good.
So I just thought, oh, I'll get it in here now. So that's why her grandparents live in Whitby. That's why Auntie Magdalena died in Madeira. And it's why certain other places get mentioned, like I mentioned Rotherham at one point, and all these different things get mentioned just in
for
case.
future books.
Yeah, just in case I want to send her off somewhere.
That's clever. That's quite good. I like that. I'm just going to sip on blow on my tea a little bit. It matches my top. I just realised. I did not plan this. Yeah, I was obviously in clear agreement with Auntie Magdalena for divorcing the guy for the guy that doesn't like sticky toffee pudding. I've also put Alice's mum. Oh no, careful! I've got to be careful. So that was a clue. There was a clue there. Alice's mum saw beep there the day that Christopher was killed.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just saw Callie's comment. I love Primrose's parenting outfits, the calming colours. Yes, that's something that I do need to bring back in the second book, actually, because Primrose hasn't had such a presence at the moment, even though I'm halfway through. I think she's only appeared in one scene. And yeah, Primrose. I just love the fact that Primrose Alice is in her mid-20s and she's still buying parenting manuals and trying to use them on her daughter. You know,
that'll be me.
I just love that she's this, like, she so heavily wants to be a mother. Like, it's one of the activities, you know, it's like one of the only activities she's stuck to in life.
It's okay, we won't boot you off, Kelly. We still love you.
I mean, it's been many years since I had sticky toffee. No, that's a lie. I was thinking of something else then. I have had No, I haven't had... This is difficult. What am I thinking of?
Sticky toffee pudding is like a basic, and it's got to... Also, you have to have it with custard. Like,
Yeah,
Sally,
I
I'm
was-
telling you now,
I was-
if ever you do have it, you have to try and have it with good quality custard.
I was thinking of custard.
You
Like,
have to. It's got to be good quality. And also, I'm quite a right. I'm a little bit snobby. It has to be ambrosia.
I've never had ambrosia.
What?
So yeah, I know. Yeah, it's definitely been a while since I had sticky toffee pudding.
But you're not having sugar at the moment, so
That's what I was saying. So then I'm looking at it like, yeah, it's been a while since I had that. I couldn't remember what it was I had.
Because I'm going out. I'm actually leaving the house tomorrow. Shock, horror. And I'm off to my friend's house, and I'm going to go there for dinner. And she's making the dinner, and I'm bringing the puddings. That's how I do this. So one of the puddings I'm bringing. Normally I would bring like 3 puddings, but there's only me coming along to her house and her family. And yeah, I bringing lemon meringue pie and, can you guess?
Fruits of the forest.
Sticky toffee pudding. Donut. I don't even like fruits of the forest. Like, no. Yeah. So that's why. It's very appropriate, the sticky toffee pudding. I think that's probably what made me start eating sticky. It was probably you that got me starting eating it again, because I was like reading a book, getting hungry, in the tea rooms, and then saying about the sticky toffee pudding.
I get that. When certain things appear in pieces of media, you begin to crave them.
Yeah, I liked with Legends and Lattes. There's loads of food reference, food within it. So also with your book as well, we'll try and make sure we're going to try and wrap up by 9. Is the aim, or like half?
Yeah.
What's your time frame, Charlie?
I haven't got a time frame.
Okay. So will the cafe be incorporated still through the books, or is it again? Are we staying? Are we moving away from the area in the next book specifically? Will the cafe be featured
in the next book? The cafe has had more of a presence. Well, I say that I haven't. It's not had more of a presence, but Mavis has appeared more, and Alice is now doing a few hours in the cafe.
Ah, there you go. To get some extra money.
Yeah, not that she needs it, because she does have a house.
You still got to eat, and the cost of living crisis is quite expensive.
Yeah, but she's not got there yet. She's not got there yet. She's still firmly in 2017. She's not seen any horrors of the world yet. That's the problem. I started writing these books when Alice was older than me. And 25 seemed like really old.
Don't say that to me.
No, that's what I'm saying. 25 seemed really old when I was looking at it from a distance when I planned the character, and then when I got there and she's now younger than me, I'm like, oh, I knew nothing.
And do you think that changes? So looking back at obviously your writing has changed and developed, obviously, anyway, because you could tell that even with obviously reading. Cause I'm guessing because Kelly's watching, she can confer. Obviously, we've read the latest Doris book. And you can see the development in your work, can't you? Your maturity in it. But is that weird for you to, or is it like a good thing? Do you know what? It's probably like a good thing, isn't it? It's got to be a good thing.
No, it's a good thing, but I've mentioned it in a few of the Doris videos as well. When I wrote Royally Doris, I'd look back at our Doris and I'd wonder, how was I able to be so succinct and keep a story so short? And in terms of writing the second book for Alice Valentine, when I read An Heir to Murder earlier this week, I kept getting stuck in this quandary because someone had recently read part of the latest book and said, well, there's not enough description here. And I was like, and I was reading all of these passages where there's a huge chunk of description and there's not a lot of dialogue. And I was like, how the devil did I do this? So then I've ended up going back and reading everything I've written so far of the next book. And I think, well, actually, I did I am doing this. It's just when you take A4 sheets and transplant them to this, it looks a lot different.
Yeah, of course.
It has been nice to go back. There's also, but there is still a concern and a worry there that as a writer, the voice might have changed considerably in 5 years since I wrote this. So I'm never going to capture the voice that I had 5 years ago.
But she's changing anyway and growing, and I feel like girls, especially, like, I'm not trying to like be like generically stereotyping, but like they do change quite a lot anyway. And people change. Like in your lifetime, like each year, depending on what's happened to you. Like she's had the loss of Magdalena, so that's probably in the future books that's sort of sinking in, and like you said, other various experiences, and
that was something that I didn't want to just disappear as well, because you know, I could go into the next book and never mention Auntie Magdalena again, you know, just have that as the setup to this book. But there is something that happens and Auntie Magdalena is brought up again, and I want her to almost be like the ghost over the book, because I don't want Alice to have forgotten it so quickly. So even though
that's not how grief works.
Yeah. So even though the next book is set, I think, just over a year on from An Heir to Murder, she's still dealing with the fallout from the grief.
Yeah. Yes, and that's realistic. You're good at writing grief. We know this.
Well, we know this because it's one of those things where, and I was thinking about this whilst I was when I was reading this, I was remembering the writing of it, and my dad's mother died in June 2018, which was 2 months before I finished writing the book. And I can remember when she died, I sent a message to a friend down south and just said, I'm wanting to read, but I can't read anything heavy right now. Can you send me recommendations for middle grade fiction? And then I was writing middle grade fiction again for a month before I went back to Alice, because obviously it's all about death. So
yeah, I can understand that.
But I think that going back and reading it, you can definitely see like the scene where she sees the mug in the window and it's got a rose planted in it and she starts crying. That was very that was very heavily influenced by something that had happened at the house. And so it was strange to go back to An Heir to Murder for that, really, because I know how much grief had impacted Royally Doris. So it's strange. Well, it's not strange, but I do recognise that it has become one of the themes that I do seem to keep touching on more and more, is the different stages of grief and how it seems to last and that sort of thing. I
just think that's one of the things you're really good at writing. I just think you're just really good at it's feelings, it's emotions, it's you're good at all that stuff. Like that's one of the things I love about there's so much heart. It's the heart. This is one of the things. It's like you balance heart and humor so succinct, like so perfectly. And I think part of the heart and part of love is obviously loss. So yeah, I definitely think you're good at that. It's one of the things you're good at.
That's good. It's good. It's good that all those experiences are coming through into the writing.
There you go. I also wrote one of my last notes that I wrote. I put Primrose and Norman with their tandem tandem bikes, heart eyes emoji, because I love the scene where they are off on their bikes, the tandem bikes.
Honestly, I did nearly write them out of book 2 altogether. No, just because I was like, there are certain characters I want to introduce in the second book, you see. And I thought if Norman and Primrose aren't there, that's 2 fewer characters that I have to worry about. And so I nearly just decided to set this book during the time in which they're going on a charity bike ride around the country. Because I just thought, what an easy way to get rid of them.
I love that. I'm going to highlight this because it compliments you. I feel you are descriptive in all your writing. We get to know the characters so well through your writing and all the events. I'm a Stephen King fan, but in one book, he spent 5 pages describing Pennsylvanian woods. Yeah, that sometimes it's a bit too much description. Like you can have descriptions, but you don't want it to be over the top.
Well, yeah,
I like
this
descriptions.
is the thing. Like, I was noticing in An Heir to Murder, there are occasions where I've described stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't describe anything like this anymore. And then,
Yeah.
but it's just because there are parts of me where I'm like, in my head, if somebody goes into the kitchen, I'm just like, right, so it's a kitchen. What does the reader need to know about a kitchen, really? They know that it's a place where people prepare food. So when I say to somebody they've gone into the kitchen to put on the kettle, that's all they've done. But other writers would want to describe what sort of kitchen the person has and
The finish.
and they'd use it to add more depth to the character. And I'm like, she's going into the kitchen to make a brew. Give her time.
Yeah, it's just kitchen test.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a funny one because I feel like I can get dialogue and I can do that, and I can run through the mental processes going through people's heads about stuff. But when it comes to that description, it's difficult. But also then I'll look at An Heir to Murder as well. I'm like, my goodness, there are a lot of cobwebs. There's a lot of filth going on.
No, I know. I love that. No, but no, because I think you do it. You've done a really good. I never noticed anything that was over the top. I think everything you've done, everything that is in your book is it's well placed. I never thought.
I think it was just because we'd done not An Heir to Murder, we'd done Royally Doris as well.
You've seen all of that.
I was like, oh, we've got all these bins in Alice's house, all the bin bags and everything, they're leaking. And then I've gone to Duke's house and I've got all these bin bags everywhere. In Royally Doris, I've got Bianca's house that the bungalow's tidy, but then her room's messy. And I'm just like, everyone, it just seems to be the thing in my books that whenever somebody's going through something emotional, that they are untidy. That's
okay.
That just seems to be the one stereotypical way that Charlie shows that people are going through emotional messes is the houses are untidy.
That's a fair thing to do. Kelly said that the scene with the cup and the flower moved me and touched my heart on a very personal level. Oh, Kelly, sending you big hugs.
Well, yeah, for me it was just a bit, it's one of those things where it's very inconsequential and you don't really know in grief how the small things might cause you to react.
Definitely, that's 100% a thing. It's like yeah, and sometimes as well it can catch you in different ways. Grief can catch you in funny ways that you're not, like you said, not expecting. I was reading a book the other day and Marmee, and I'm not going to give any spoilers for Marmee. There's nothing about Marmee, but yeah, there was some moments in that, and I was going down to Ardingly, and it just like the two things together. I was just like, oh, it can catch you off unawares. It can catch you off unawares. Let's have another look. See what else have I written. The further. Yes, it's very realistic to do that. I put about Doris and the gulping. I put about that. I've already mentioned that. I feel like I've said everything that I've needed to say. I feel like. No. Yes. I'm sorry. I am dry for all of the words.
Right, and I'll just go to this comment from Callie, which says, that was a compliment. No one needs 5 pages about the woods.
Yes, we knew that was a compliment.
I got that it was a compliment, but it's just on a personal level. I would like to be the type of writer, whether I cut all of that 5 pages description about the woods out, I would like to be the person that actually could write it. But
I feel like you can write whatever you want to write, Charlie.
There is always a part of me that tells me to stop. So, like, I was, for example, I wrote a poem at the writers group yesterday, and I'd only written about 6 lines, and I thought, I've captured everything I want to capture there, and just stopped writing. Whereas
you've got a good sense of when you're done. I think you've said that to me yourself. We've had conversations like this ourselves. Like, Charlie knows. Charlie's really good at sort of like knowing when you're finished. You know when you're finished, don't you?
That's why I say, in terms of Royally Doris, there were times where Dane read that and didn't feel like the final paragraph was the final paragraph. but it's almost like I reach a wall, and I wrote that final paragraph, and to me it felt done, and I could have gone on, and I did. There is a final scene, but for me, in terms of really Doris, it was very important for me to have this final scene that it is in that book be that scene, and I could just sense that. Similarly, with An Heir to Murder, I moved in the final chapter. It starts with Alice and Marmaduke, and then it ends with Alice and her parents. And originally it was the other way around, and I flipped it because for me it was more important to end on that scene than it was for the other. So
that's really interesting. I can't wait to get to know, to have more of Marmaduke, to have more of Alice, to have all the more of the adventures. Yeah, you've got us all excited, and yeah, I know there's no pressure. Like, obviously,
I don't feel the pressure, but it's one of those things where I thought I'd be spending the year with the charity shop book, but there was just something where I felt like I couldn't comfortably write that book until the second Alice book was done.
It's funny though, because I remember at one point you were writing both. So
I was alternating every week. And I felt really sorry for Joy because every time I was speaking to her, I was speaking about a different project I'd worked on that week.
She did poetry and that, and then
and then when I finished, I'd got to 10,000 words, if not just a bit more, of the charity shop book, and I'd finished part 1, and I thought, right, I'm going to put this down. Let's go to Alice. Let's write this. And like I said earlier, there was this really strong hope that I could knuckle down and get it finished for tonight, which was why I asked you at the start, when we were talking about this, I was like, can we go mid-May? Because if I knew that I'd got those 2 weeks off, I thought 2,000 words a day, I will get the book finished. And
that's not how it works, is it?
Well, it wasn't how it worked. So as much as I have dedicated much more time to writing, and I had more writing as work days than I have done in the past.
Well, also, you've had I don't know why to say that, but about your pain, you've been in quite a considerable amount of...
We've been going through the medical things as well this year, but yeah, so I didn't get to finish the book like I had hoped, but I wanted to make at least some announcements tonight. So I think that the blurb and a progress report is okay.
And also, every time you talk to me about, because when we're back and forth talking, obviously you guys don't see this, but Charlie you always seem more excited about talking about the crime novel, the planning of all that. You're always more animated when So even though I didn't know that you were going to then focus on the cozy crime, you've always been more excited about it. So I'm not as a friend, I'm not surprised that this is where you're.
Yeah, it's just the excitement comes from the fact that I can. I can't obviously see the finish line like I can when I'm getting to a certain point work-wise, but it's just knowing where all the pieces fit now, and it's having. It always happens on my walks. That's the thing. So I'm walking Sally, and then something will hit me. And so, in terms of this second book, I thought I had the ending planned, and there was something there. I was like, that didn't feel right. So I wrote another plan with a different ending, and I kept thinking, no, that doesn't feel right because I have bigger plans for this character. So then I had to go back again, and I realized the plan was fine. It's just that the character I had in that part of the plan was the wrong one. So it's things like that where I just find more excitement. But at the same time, there are certain revelations that are going to come out in this book, which will, I hope, heighten the experience of reading the charity shop book. So I
Which
keep
is
saying
very
they have to come out around the same time, even though Martin's book is just entirely different and not experimental, but it uses various forms to tell its story.
which I'm excited for. Yeah. Should we wrap it up and say 5 more minutes? Should we give
Yes,
5
let's
more minutes?
do 5 more minutes, and yeah.
Oh, right. So you've already covered about your writing experience of being so different. We've said about your journey. We've said about how do you in terms of fresh inspirations? Obviously, I know you said about the drag character.
Yeah.
That's obviously Charlie loves. You love.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
About the specifically Elaine Closure or just anything?
Yeah.
So in terms of Elaine Closure, they as a character appeared years ago, actually, and I can't remember when I realised that they were Ben's drag persona, but I always knew that a book in the series was going to take Alice off and was going to have characters. So I had a whole list of drag queen names, but I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I'll hear something and I think, oh, that could be a cozy crime novel. My manager is a keen golfer, and so a lot of the golfers will come in and start chatting to her, and so I get to hear all of this gossip going on about the golfers and who they dislike, and there's currently something going on with this guy who's a huge misogynist, and he's very 1960s 70s in the way he thinks about women, and immediately my mind goes to thinking, well, we've got another cozy crime novel here. I just have to get Primrose into golf. So
where's your job? Do you find that then you're getting loads of inspirations and it's like
anytime somebody tells me a story where they're pissed off with somebody, I'm like,
you hear so much, Charlie. You hear a lot, don't you?
I do, and it's become this thing where people get annoyed with me because they can see me reaching my phone and start typing down what they just said to me. But there are certain stories I've planned that their positions in the series have changed based on how I think they might be able to help the series arc about Joanna Rollinshead.
Oh yeah.
And so the book that is now the 4th book is actually a book that I probably only had the idea for last year. Whereas when I first set out to write the Alice Valentine series, I had a plan for 10 books. And then I realised having the mystery for Joanna Rollinshead last for 10 books is asking the lot of the reader.
Yeah, so that's...
So
I knew books, isn't it?
Yeah, I knew that it could be done in 5. And that's because, without, again, giving spoilers, in book 2, we get some mention of why she might have disappeared. In book 3, we discover more of
the bigger picture.
Yeah, the bigger picture. That's a good way of putting it. And then in books 4 and 5, it gets more back to Partridge Mews, and it's more like the explosion and overall fallout of everything from 30 years ago when she went missing, and now everybody knows what happened and what went on. But there are still
questions
and still murders happening in Partridge Mews.
Ooh, exciting. I'm going to highlight the lovely Kelly's comment because she's our sweetie. Thank you so much. I'll miss our monthly meetings. They have meant so much. Charlie Kitchen. We love you so much, honestly, Kelly. Like, I'm still going to be reading with Kelly. Me and Kelly have got a plan that we were going to buddy read some Marple together. So
fantastic.
Yes, you're good. So I've never read any Marple, and I don't think Kelly has. I don't think you have either, Kelly. Have you? And we're going to read them from the beginning. So we're going to work our way from because Charlie's always nagging me about reading Marple because I've read some Poirot.
No, Murder at the Vicarage is just a fantastic crime novel.
And Richard E. Grant narrates the books, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't know. But like I say, if you're ever looking for a radio play, then the June Whitfield radio plays are also good because I listened to them before I ever watched it. I even bought
a Kelly show, but that's
I even bought a portable tape player this last week just so I could listen to my tapes of it.
That's nice.
But what was I going to say? But there is a Poirot novel. You'll have to look it up because I can't remember which it is. Where Poirot mentions St. Mary Mead. And one of the characters has come from St. Mary Mead. And I am certain that she was supposed to be a precursor to Miss Marple.
Ah, St. Mary Mead.
That's where Miss Marple lives.
St. Mary Mead is a fictional village where Miss Marple lives, and I should put Poirot. It doesn't. I'm not as good at Googling as Charlie is. Sorry. Yeah. Kelly hasn't read Marple, so we're gonna enjoy them together.
Go along. And
I can't wait to get to natter and pretend to be clever detectives, even though I am the least clever detective out of us.
Well, you can read it.
Because Kelly's really good at it. It was really funny though, because Kelly was like, "Oh, I won't be very good at finding Easter eggs," and she was like picking apart. Like if I had written down Kelly's notes, her notes were brilliant. So I should have done, but maybe I should have got permission, obviously.
Well, I can't wait to see what you think of my favourite ones.
Oh yeah, can't wait. Yeah, that would be good.
Maybe that's what I should start doing. Forcing you to have live shows all about Miss Marple.
Oh yeah. We can, me and Kelly can like say our thoughts on them, and you can be like, because you're the Marple experts, along with the lovely.
I've watched a lot and read a lot. Well, I can't say I've read a lot of Marple. I've read the Marples that exist.
And Alice loves all that stuff as well. And who was? Oh, I can't remember her name. Mama Jama. I can't remember her channel name. Sorry.
Najuma.
Yes. And I can't remember her lovely name. She's so lovely. Yeah. And she's got a lovely channel. And
that's how we
she's read
first started conversing with each other.
Because of Marple.
Anyway, I did plan on maybe announcing the title for the second Alice Valentine. Do you think I should still do that, or should I hold on? Do you think I should?
No, you can go ahead. I mean, I think there's Kelly's watching, so. I mean,
would you like to hear the title?
Kelly, do you want to hear the title? Wait for a comment.
Well, I was asking Charlie whether you wanted to hear the title, or do you already know it?
I don't know the title. I'm not psychic.
I was about to say, it's just I can never remember whether I let it slip.
Did you say it? You might have said it.
Because I
think you did actually. If it's what I think it is, no, you did. Did you?
I don't know whether that comment from Callie came just when I asked whether she wanted to hear the title or whether it's before that.
Belle, no. Oh my god, this is definitely the time for us to finish.
Yeah, we're nearly finished.
Say the title. I'm sure she'll want to hear. Kelly will definitely want to hear.
Okay, well, either way, the title that I kept thinking about changing, but it's probably not going to get changed anymore. The second Alice Valentine book is currently entitled Mistakes Make Murder.
Mistakes Make Murder.
3 Gloria Hebblethwaites, 1 killer.
Ooh, I can't wait for that.
Anyway, once again, thank you to Callie and everybody else who came along and chatted to us this evening. Thank you, Charlie,
everyone in the future who's watching,
being a big proponent of my books over the last few months and helping co-host the Literally Doris Read Along and the Heir to Murder Read Along, and just having so much to say. It has been a great 5 months. And now we don't have to
We'll be
read
doing-
for a very long time.
I think in terms of the Charlie and Charlie content, in case you're watching and wanting to know what's coming up with that, we've got. I think we haven't actually properly pinned any dates down, but I think we're going to be doing some Booker wish lists on Charlie's channel, and we'll probably do another video on my channel because normally when we do a video, we normally film one for one, one for the other. So I'm sure there'll be something else on mine potentially.
No, I know what I want to do with you.
What?
I need to send you that message. I found a fantastic tag, and I think it's right up your street.
Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. So
Okay.
we're watching out for that, and then we will be doing other Booker videos that I think we'll probably do similar what we did last year. I think we did like a word association one. We want to do that one, won't we? Because that was fun.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then yeah. So there'll be Booker content, and then no doubt some Christmas cracker
You
stuff.
are going to be seeing Charlie and Charlie much more.
We never don't make videos.
But yes, thank you for joining.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you for reading the books. And until next time, that is.
And you all lots of love.